I'm just wondering what you make of the timing of this new tax rules. Do you think it has to do with how China is trying to prop up its economy?
Yes. Hi, Jung-Soo. How are you? Thank you for your interview. This is a very hot topic. The China Tax Authority intended to lower the tax burden on the poor and the middle class by making the rich to pay more. China tax residents have the duty to pay tax on their global income for many years, but for those working abroad, it had not been generally enforced because there wasn't a detailed legal basis nor guidelines for coordination. In January 2020, Chinese tax authorities issued instructions on how to comply with the tax law while abroad, a move that caught many Chinese expatriates off guard. Chinese state-owned enterprise in Hong Kong started telling their employees who had transferred from the mainland to declare their 2020-2019 income so they could pay tax back home. Employees in other locations, such as Singapore, got the same message. Some people say that they are considering moving back to China to avoid the high living costs in Hong Kong and high taxes in China mainland. Another option would be to swap into another passport and cancel his or her Chinese household registration if a person has lived in a place long enough to qualify. Yeah, thank you.
We know that it will hit the Chinese expats in Hong Kong first, 80,000 to 150 estimated there in Hong Kong. But it will also eventually hit those further afield, and there are about, 50 million Chinese expats in the world. How easy or complicated will it be to get the collection done?
Yes, as you know, the China state-owned enterprises will be affected because their headquarters are in mainland China. Generally, the headquarters have their employees' global salary information. The state-owned banks in Hong Kong may be impacted most. For the pure foreign-funded enterprise in Hong Kong, their salaries in Hong Kong is unknown to the PRC tax authorities. Thus, the impacted not too much.
At 45%, the rate is very high. Will it impact China's competitiveness? Will it cause a brain drain? What are you hearing from the companies that you advise?
Yeah, I advise that if Chinese tax residents working abroad, they have to declare and pay Chinese tax on their global income in accordance with the regulation. If you don't want to pay tax in China, you need to control the number of days you stayed in China and avoid becoming a Chinese tax resident. I suggest that the individuals in Hong Kong, especially those who are local hired, can try to prove to China Tax Bureau that their residency, family ties, economic interests, and a long-term destination are closer to the definition of a Hong Kong tax resident than a mainland one, to prove that you are a non-tax resident of China.
Feng Ao, tell me, so will it work as the Americans do, that you will pay your local taxes and then you'd have to pay a little bit more on top to get to what the Chinese authorities are demanding? What would be the exemptions here, and what sort of hit can people expect, Chinese expats expect to have living in Singapore or Hong Kong, for instance?
Just like the U.S. tax law, a U.S. tax resident is subject to U.S. federal individual income tax on his or her worldwide income. There are many U.S. tax residents working and living in Hong Kong. Even though the U.S. federal tax rate is much higher than Hong Kong tax rate, they do not relocate back to the U.S. While the improvement of China's legal system construction, the executive power is becoming stronger and stronger. According to the individual income tax law of the People's Republic of China, the individual is Chinese tax resident, if he or she stays in China for 183 days or more in a calendar year. Yeah.
And Feng Ao, what does it all symbolize ultimately? What does it tell you about the state of the Chinese economy?
The economy in China feels good in the second season of 2020. Yeah. There are many people, they can have business trips from cities to cities, but we have to take the mask. Yeah. Every day. Mm.
So, Feng Ao, right, how can some of these state-owned enterprises mitigate this extra taxation? Is there the appetite or even the money to start paying people more so it's kind of equalized?
I think the China tax authorities intended to lower the tax rate for poor and the middle classes. They want the rich one to pay more tax. Yeah, in future. As you know, from this year, the China Civil Code has been approved and will be effective next year. The Civil Code says we have approved the system of estate administrator in China, which means that when everyone dies in China, they need to pay off the taxes that they owed before they died.
So now, is it fair to say that China's tax rules are more extensive than some of the other countries? I mean, they include salaries, dividends, savings, property sales.
Yeah. For salary income in China, it will be subject to 45% tax rate. But for the dividend income, only 20% fixed tax rate in China. So I think most people in foreign, most Chinese people working abroad, they want to have more dividend income than salary income, because dividend income can enjoy the lower tax rate